So, all karmas and kartavyas and dharma, etc., are all done in order to gain the kaivalya, liberation. Karmas done dharmically will lead you to Atma Sakshatkaram and Parabrahma Sakshatkaram. Karmas which has been done adharmically will lead one to number of births and deaths cycle. So it is up to an individual Jivatma that which type of life one has to choose. This independence has been given to the Jivatma. But great Vedantis, the ones who are scholars of the Vedas, Vedantas, have told that both after the death will go to a certain place. Since this soul or this memories of this soul, Jivatma, which he himself feels that he is inadequate to merge with the Paramatma. So he decides to come back. So this Chaitanya will help him to come back. Last time we talked about Chaitanya. Everything we are prompted to execute, prompted to initiate, prompted to execute is the Chaitanya. The Chaitanya has to be used in the right manner. Dharmically living means using the Chaitanya in the right sense, in the right manner, in order to evolve oneself towards the absoluteness. The evolution should be there. Unless that is there, he will not be in a position to. He himself will feel, not in the logical sense. Our problem here, why we are not able to understand many things in our life about the Atma Sakshatkaram and living dharmically, principles, Tattva-jnanam, Tattva-shastras, these words or these meanings or these principles, why a normal human being, even though he is educated, as I told you, avidya has been created in him, but he is not able to understand it or accept it, or he is practicing it. Why is that? Don't you think that is why is it happening like that? There are various reasons behind it. One is that he is past karmas. Second is that since he has not experienced those, he is apprehensive whether that will give better happiness than the pleasures that what I am enjoying today in the material world. Uncertainty of the happiness, uncertainty of the establishing the factor. Must be these are the things why one is not able to walk into that path very bravely accept very few, or few of them who have already done it, many of them rather, not few, many of them have done it. But this is why it is not happening. Now, according to the Vedanta, everybody has a capability to understand it. It is not that they don't understand it. Everyone has got a capability to understand. Everybody has got an efficiency, and everybody has got a right towards the walking towards that path of practice, because it is meant for the human only. It's meant for only the humanity, no one else. So, then why it is not happening is because of not getting the right initiative towards walking on that, or the fear of losing the pleasures of the material life. So, the fear of losing the material life, in Bhagavatam it says, in the 20th, third skanda, 20th chapter, mentions about the desire created by the human beings. They just miss the reality, the truth of the fact that the happiness or the attachment or the attraction is not lying in the object. It is in us only. The object is not creating any attraction or attachment or any happiness or pleasures. They are all created by us. Bhutam, they say that. The bhutas, that means the objects, they do not create any of these things. None of the objects, let it be we call it as most beautiful, most precious, great, everything. They are all the impressions that the karmas or the Panchabhutas or the Kama, Krodha, Moha, Mada, Matsari, these gunas that is there in me, that is the one which is creating this attachment, attraction or appreciation towards the bhutas. In none of the bhutas or none of the objects, they have these qualities. In none. Let it be the most beautiful thing in the world, most precious things in the world. To understand this, once you understand this, it's a very small principle to understand. An absolute principle and a very small principle. If one understands that it is not in the object that there is an attraction, that why I am getting it, it is in me that attraction is there. Why do I have this attraction is the analysis that you should do in yourself. That study is called the spiritual studies. Why am I having the attraction towards that? This you should understand, and then you should go into the truth of analysis of these things is called Sambhuti and Asambhuti. This process is called Sambhuti and Asambhuti. Upasana to the Asambhuti will take you towards the Asambhuti. Upasana to the Sambhuti will take you towards the Sambhuti. That means Sambhuti is that which has already happened. Asambhuti is that that Maya or that which has not happened. When we do it can also be told as the Sakama karma and Nishkama karma. It can be translated then. Sakama karma and Nishkama karma. When we do a Sambodhi with Sambodhi and Asambodhi, Sambodhi that which has already happened, Asambodhi which has not happened. That means when you do what's that? Upasana to Asambodhi which is called a Maya, you will be attracted towards the Maya, whereas when you do Upasana towards the Sambodhi or towards the realities of the truth, then you will get the classification is that to very well understand that look, to whichever you do the Upasana, you will gain that. Upasana is that the Upasana. We know what is the meaning of Upasana. Whatever you pray to, you get it. There is no doubt about it. If we are asking for something, and that will happen, no doubt about it. If our intention is sincere and then concentrating on that, and with absolute sincerity and dharmam, for the purpose of dharmam or adharmam, if you think about it, constantly, it will happen. Now, after happening, for happening, you are the reasons, and after that is happening, it is your responsibility to take care of it. That means the enjoyment or the attachment or detachment is to be done by you. The enjoyment or the disturbance that causes is also, it is your guna, agunas, both are yours, that's all. Drupad has wanted the children that the yajna was being done. Draupadi has come out and Drupad has come out. Draupadi has come out of it. Both have come out of it. Whatever has come, he has to take care of it because it was his desire. This is called yajna. Yajna is that the meaning of yajna is that constant prayatnam is called yajna. That's all. Not only the agni and then pouring the ghee on that. Yajna is a constant prayatna is yajna. So when you do the yajna and whatever you want, you get it. Why do you want to get something which is temporary? Whether it is Draupadi or whether it is, what is his name? Draupadi Putra. Whatever it is, they are all temporary only. At one point of time they have to go vanish. The great men, the great knowledgeable people say that don't settle for the small things. Always above everything, whether it is Vidya Upasana, Vidya and Avidya, as I told you last time, both are necessary because with Avidya we deal with the sansaric jivan, with Avidya. With Vidya we attain the liberation and then the devatas and things like that. Both are necessary. So long you are living in the world with the Sharira, Avidya is necessary. That means the Vijnanam, science, Vijnanam, the material science is necessary. That education is necessary. But along with that, we have to have the Jnanam. It is not only for living, the purpose is not only living in this world, the purpose is that to leave this world. That is the purpose, not to permanently live in this world. So with Vijnanam, you are concentrating mostly on the Vijnanam and trying to live in this world. Any amount of living in this world can be done only for a period of time. After that, Jnanam will take care of it. That means the death of the Vijnanam has to take place. The material destruction has to take place because it's all created. Whatever has been created has to be destructed. There is no doubt about it. Destroyed. That's true. So, Srishti, whatever has been, is the Srishti, that it has to have a Samhara. So, Srishti and Samhara, it goes together. It cannot be separated. So, this is the problem with the Avidya. Avidya is necessary to that extent only for the purpose of our decent living in this world. It is not necessary otherwise. After that, It is the jnanam that is necessary in order to attain the Brahma Vidya, Brahma Jnanam, that layam into the Brahman. Because Brahmopasana is the upasana that has to be done. All other upasanas, Vidya upasana, Shakti upasana, there are so many upasanas people do. Any amount of magic one can create, there is no doubt about it. They are all upasana only. But isn't that the purpose of living? The great nobleman, according to everything, has to be based on Veda Vedanta. Everything is based on Veda Vedanta. So the ultimate truth, if you really want to achieve the ultimate truth, achieve the reality, achieve the truth, not getting entangled in the Maya and living here, whether you are live as a king or whether you live as a pauper, whatever it is, you may live as a king because of your avidya, jnana, or avidya or the vijnanam. You may live as a king, no doubt, you can live as a king. But the king, how long? The kingship and then his problems, his living and his enjoyment, whatever it is. At one point of time, he also leaves for Vanaprastha and the sannyasa. So the great noblemen say that, yes, so long, it is the other way around. Once somebody says that you live, then you attain the liberation at the end of the life by practicing certain things. The jnanis say that from day one, start practicing to renounce. It doesn't mean, many people think, they immediately take a negative answer to that or a negative question to that. That means from the birth onwards, do you mean to say that we should not enjoy this world? We have already discussed this in the previous classes, that whatever is in the world, whatever is in day-to-day things are there, you dharmically enjoy them. There is nothing wrong in it. If there is cold breeze, you enjoy the cold breeze. If there is a warm breeze, enjoy the warm breeze. There is nothing like that. Anything is there, you eat, you sleep, everything is there. But they are all should be done dharmically, so that none of them should take you towards the religare, that means to the down. But whereas it should be taken, it should take you to the evolution, that means dharma, the evolution process of it is in order to evolve into the higher consciousness. That should be the purpose of it. Each and every karma should be meant for our evolution to the higher consciousness, not for bringing us down. One will know how to know, one will know, one automatically knows, because the inner Chaitanyam will inform you once. Whatever you do, whatever happens, it's as I have told it thousands of times earlier, many years ago, so that these instincts, whatever you do, you only will know immediately. There will be an information somewhere. The problem is that because our entanglement of our activities and externalities are so high, we ignore that minute in the advice given in the mildest form of voice, not with an authority. Hey, you do this now. Look, if you do this, this will happen. No, there will be an information at the background, with very gentle and very minute, and this you have to concentrate on. Once you concentrate on, you know which is dharma, not. This is inherent in us. But then, in order to teach us, then we are telling about the dharma. What is dharma? And execution of dharma is that which doesn't create any, again I am explaining further about dharma, that which doesn't create any agitations to my mind, and I execute that particular karma, is called the dharmic way of execution of karma. At no point of time, because of that, there should be an agitation in my life. That is called dharma. This will take us to the higher consciousness, where, because what is the analysis behind it? When I do that, anything that I have done with the agitation for the purpose of, done, and the result is that the agitation of the mind, I am attached to it and attracted to it. Once I am attached to it and attracted to it, I have to distract it or detach it from me, then only further progress on that can be made. Otherwise, till then, that attachment will remain. When that attachment remains, I am not in a position to go further evolution on the higher consciousness particularly. Unless I finish that, this is called finishing the karmas. So this has to be exhausted. That should not be causing any agitations to me at any point of time in my life. Is why that Nityam and Anityam has been told about it. So Asambodhi and Sambodhi. And then we said why we are doing all these things. They are all meant for the immense purity of the mind. Once we create, what is the purity? Where there are no agitations. I have explained all these things for so many hours. We stopped. 6 sessions we spoke only for bringing us to this point, the purity of the mind. Only one very simple and easy word, but the most significant and most difficult thing to understand for the common man was the purity of the mind. How to create the purity of the mind. I got a mind, I got everything. But how can I create the purity to the mind? By birth, we have certain capabilities and capacities. By birth, everyone is ignorant. They are absolutely, that's why they say that ignorant or innocent also we can say. No senses give us information. In no sense is no innocence. In no sense. None of them give us. This is also certain amount of purity. Nothing is there. But here, that is not what we are discussing. This purity of mind. This purity of mind, it is not a child's innocence of purity of mind. There is a difference between these two things. This purity of the mind is that after experiencing everything, the mind remains as a witness, as a purified one, which is not affected by any of those things. Is called the purity of mind. Got it? There's a big difference in that. In a class, a teacher explains things to the students. Both teacher and the students are executing a karma. Let's call it dharmically. Executing a karma dharmically. He is explaining everything very nicely, and the disciple, the student, absorbing it or understanding it, absolutely clear, no doubt about it. Once the teacher comes out of the class and the student also completes that particular period of study, both are absolute relaxed, not strenuous. After 40 minutes of class, normally what happens, if something has not been understood, we call it as difficult, and then we have agitations. Mostly, I'm just giving an example. The teacher also, if he could explain it very well and he is satisfied with his work, when he comes out of the class, he is also absolutely at peace. Neither there is a backlog, oh, I should have told this, I should have done this, I should have done this. Or he, the other one, I did not understand what he spoke or that, I did not understand this, or this I understood, this I did not understand. This discussions of the mind which creates negative, it's an incomplete, impure mind at that point. This you just translate it to our life, executing the karma. then you know exactly what is called purity. The moment I execute a particular karma, I should have an immense peace. Not only that, an evolution towards the higher consciousness, an absolute, it's a happiness or ananda has to be there. No agitation status. Agitation is happiness or what we call as pleasure and happiness, or guilt and sufferings and kashta, dukkha, either of these. Both should not be there. When both are not there, karma is absolutely dharma. Purity of the mind is that he knows everything, but having completed everything, he is not attached to any of those things. I will do all my karmas in my life as any other normal human being does. But I am not attached to any of those things at the end of the life. No agitations on that. Absolutely. Even the incarnated ones like Bhagavan Krishna, Bharata, he also says that once one is born, one taken the Sharira dharma is there, that has to be done. During the execution of the Sharira dharma, the kartavyas and karmas have to be executed. He too had, according to the onlookers, he too had relations, he too had relationships, he too had many of these activities were there in him also. But at that one point of time, he is not attached to any of those things. For instance, one beautiful example to understand from Bhagavatam or from Krishna Leela is that one has to really understand it in the Vedantic way, not in the external way, not in the Bhautika way. The childhood was spent in his Vrindavan. No? Childhood was spent in Vrindavan where his father was different, mother was different. Nandana and his wife. He used to have lot of activities. Many of the initial miracles have been created. There Taraga has been killed, this has been killed. So many asuras have been, Chakrasura has been killed. So many asuras, Kalya Mardana has been taken place. Everything, many of them has taken place, plus all his friendship and all his association, all his love and affection was there in the, all happened in the Vrindavan. So many activities is where everybody cried when he left. But why? After he left, throughout Krishna's career, he has never come back to that place. The most loved place for him, according to us, the place where he really enjoyed mother's care and mother's that pampering, father's pampering, villagers pampering, his friends pampering, and his enjoyment. Everything always, otherwise always that. After that, everything is kartavya, karma. That was the most precious thing. He has never even dreamt of this one. What is that? Vrindavan. To go back to that place. Did he do that? Bhagavan shows an example of that. How it may appear to be most sticky. He enjoyed it. And it was there. It was there. It has to be used like that. The karma has to be done according to that. But the moment he has left it, no more connection with that. After that, he has not even seen Devaki. Not Yashoda. After that. Then he was with Devaki and Vasudeva for some time. Again he went from there, he has to leave for the ashram, Sandipani, and then went on. After that he has never met. At least there is no reference of he meeting Devaki and there or Yashoda and Nandana afterwards. There is no mention of that at all. The most precious people for him to be born. Even immediately after birth he has left his parents and only after so many years he came and met Devaki and Vasudeva. An example of that is that how, after what I am trying to tell you, this has to be understood Vedantically, that once I finish my karmas there, dharmically, I finished it. So, for others, it looks to be an enjoyment, others look to be a pleasurable time for Krishna and things like that. But he was executing his karmas there, dharmically. Once that is done, he had no attachment. He had not even remembered about it. That is how Uddhava, it's not that Uddhava Gita also comes to that. He is asking, don't you remember sometimes? What is there to remember? True detachment. This is called detachment. Functioning in detachment. That gives absolute immense purity of the mind. He did not keep on thinking that this has happened, that has happened, this is there, that is there. Immense purity is that. He knows. So, one, the child's innocence, the purity. Another is that the purity that after acquiring all the knowledge is, then he becomes absolutely detached to any of those things what he said. But he is executing. It's not that he is isolated and idling his time. No, not like that. He knows everything, he is doing everything, but he is not himself involving himself or attached himself towards that. The involvement what we are talking about in the materialism is there, but in the spiritualism the involvement is not there. When we are not, that's why the word witness has been used for the Atma. Atma's involvement is not there. Atma is a witness to all our karmas and kartavyas. No? Involvement is not there. No? But mind's involvement is there. Why? Because he is attached to that. He involved in it. That's the difference between involvement and witness. You understand that? Atma is involved in everything, in fact. You see, not the mana. Atma is the one which is involved in everything according to our language. Okay, involved. But Atma is the one who did not affect by any of these things. Na kashta, na dukha, na buddhi, na ajnanam, na vijnanam, na jnanam, na jivitam, na maranam. Nothing has been affected by Atma. But he is involved in everything. Let me call it as he. Or it is involved in everything. But mind is not like that. Mind is involved in the thing. That means it doesn't come back. Involved, remains there. Not as a witness. The mind has to become a witness. Is called the immense purity of the mind. Because mind has to be a reflection of the antakarana, a reflection of the antaratma. Then only the mind can be absolutely pure. So keeping that purity, he should function. That's what he says. बोलते हैं ना that we should know our position and then function. So don't cross the limits. Some proverb is there in our common language. We say, understand who you are and what you are, what is your responsibility, and be to that limit, don't cross that limit. And even though there may be pralovan or the inspiring inspiration or the praises or instigations, that's right. There may be instigations for you to do it, but never get entangled with the instigations. Remain where you are and what you are. Grounded, we call it. Another word is that grounded. Be grounded. That means to your own. This is called functioning as a witness by the mind, the purity of the mind. So that the mind should not be involved in it. Execute your karma, but don't involve in yourself. It will appear to be involvement, because you will do it sincerely. Not that karma, because your involvement is not there, you will not do it sincerely. The involvement creating a little confusion in the meaning. Where I am talking here is that involvement about the spirituality. Material world involvement is that, I must sincerely do it, is called what we mean by involvement. Right? Your complete involvement should be there. That means you should be completely sincere to that, is what he means. Here what I am dividing it. This involvement is that for the one is for attachments. Naturally, when you involve yourself, you get attached to that. You are the creator of that. You get, oh, I got the, what a word is that? I forgot the word. Nobel Prize, no? That's the highest award in this world, in fact. A Nobel Prize. It's not a Nobel Prize, but a Nobel Prize. But we expect a Nobel Prize, no? So not the Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize is what? An achievement. For what? For his involvement, for his achievement, for his association towards it. No, not for disassociation to it. He owns it. He's a creator of it. He has been told as a creator. Whenever these words come, the involvement becomes. That's why I said the involvement is the what is that? Sincerity. That's all. What we mean in materialism involvement is that do it sincerely. Sincerely and honestly. No, it's not involvement. Whatever you do it sincerely. That means you should not be doing a mistake. You should not be doing it just for casually. Take it seriously. That means, yes, this has to be done. Take it seriously and do it. When Bhagavan said, Bhagavan Krishna went as a Duta of, that means emissary of the Pandavas to the Kauravas for not creating a war, avoiding a war. So he said that, they were discussing, the day before, who should be sent. Then the discussion was that such a man should go, that they should not feel that we are inferior and we are begging. That should not have, they should not give an impression. Second is that should be a man that who will deal that situations at that point of time when the Kauravas are discussing, deal the situations at that time intelligently, sincerely and honestly. Sincerely and honestly. That means it cannot be predicted now, and we cannot advise or make a note of it. This is what you are supposed to talk, because you do not know what they talk, how they talk, or what they behave. So a man should be such an efficient man, and they should not feel that we are inferior. They should not feel that we are weak. That's why we are coming and asking for it. They should not feel we are weak. They should not feel we are inferior, and they should not feel that they are superior, and should deal with the problems and discussions that what is happening very sincerely and honestly, without any involvement. Bhagavan did it without an involvement. When you go through it, you understand. I don't want to repeat the whole thing. We all know the story. But yes, one has to look at it through Vedantically, then only one. Not as just a drama. Even when he was abused and accused also, he behaved. He was given the position and invited for staying with the Kauravas. They made arrangements for his guest house. He said no, sincerely. That means no involvement. I am not here to. That means telling them to be sure who am I. You see. I have not come here to enjoy your comforts. I will stay with Vidur because I have got a relationship there. I got somebody there, so I will stay there. I have not come here to stay. He clearly says that I have not come here to stay and enjoy your hospitality. I have come here to express what is required. Do understand that. Don't divert your attention or don't try to instigate. This is called instigation. Instigate me or bribe me by making me live comfortably in your guest house. Sincerely and all. These are situations which were not known but which was created afterwards. A man should execute his karmas sincerely. Kartavyas sincerely and honestly. To the honesty. That means What is honesty there in executing a karma? To the required, why that karma is done, to that we should do the justice of that. By doing that karma, that particular karma should have the benefit of achieving the results of it for the purpose of evolution of it, and then no agitation should be created to my mind, is called how you execute your karma sincerely and honestly without involving yourself. Do not be a part of it. Be an executor of it. What are we doing? Executing a karma. Be an executor of it, do not be a part of it. Is it not? Executor is different. He is not a part of it, but he is executing it. But this is the meaning of non-involvement in the karma. This is what Bhagavad Gita also says, that execute your karmas without expectation of the results. That means non-involvement. Expectation of result is the one which a person involves himself, he will expect a result out of it. He would like to enjoy the result, not expecting a result. He would like to enjoy the results of it. Do not enjoy the result of it, execute your karmas, but honestly and sincerely. It should not have any slips on that. So be honest and be sincere. Just like a product is made with all qualities, there should not be nobody should say that, oh, this is inferior. You should do it that way, but you have no involvement in it. That's it. This is what is called the immense purity of the mind. How karma should be done without involvement. So when the mind is involved, ours is what? In each and everything the mind is involved. Somebody sings a song, our mind is involved. You enjoy it. See, that's difficult, because we have practiced in such a way that our involvement of mind is there in everything. He says through the mind, through the indriyas, through the mind, you listen to the song, but don't get involved in it. You listen to the song, you enjoy it, create certain things, that's okay. But afterwards, our involvement is there. We cannot avoid it. Why? Because Maya is accepted. Our attraction and attachment, because we liked it, you see. What is it like? That means my mind liked it. That means somewhere, some emotion of mine has been touched by that song. It may be dukkha, it may be kashta, it may be enjoyment, it may be happiness, or it may be joy. Whichever mood it is, or whichever emotion it is in me, that particular song has touched me. By singing that, it evoked that particular emotion. No problem. Let it be. But after that, let the emotion be where it is, and let the attachment be where it is. No attachment. Because the emotion is created by you. It's why it is not the song that it is attaching, it is your emotion that has got attachment to it. That's why different people like different songs, different ragas. The meaning itself is what? Different ragas. Sapta Swara. Different ragas. Sapta raga. That means 7 different emotions attached to 7 ragas. Raga means the meaning of raga in Sanskrit is attachment. Raga, dvesha. Attachment, non-attachment. Raga, dvesha. Raga means attachment. So Sapta ragas, if it is ragas, or there are so many ragas now, I think 68 or 102, something like that, many combinations of the number of ragas are there. The original raga means attachment. Raga means maya. Raga means attachment. So it creates an attachment. Let it be that ragam should not be there. Na raga, na dvesha. Raga, dveshadi, that duality, that means dvandvata, we call it, raga, dvesha. Shitoshna, raga, dvesha, these are all dvandvatas. We should not get involved into dvandvatas. The moment we get into dvandvatas, the impurity of the mind begins. Through the purity of the mind only we will be doing do a real tapasya, to do a real meditation, and we can evolve ourselves towards the higher consciousness. When we have a purity of mind, then only we can execute our karmas dharmically. Then only the dharma will have prominence in the purity. When we have purity of the mind, we will have prominence in the dharma. This is called the connection between purity of the mind. That is what is called the brahmacharis are learning. That is why I said the brahmacharis are most eligible for executing. Why? Because he knows, he keeps the purity of the mind as it is, but executes all karmas. So when he executes all karmas with keeping the purity as it is dharma. Because there is no attachment, there is no desire to enjoy that karma bhala. So why not we do it perfectly well? That's all. Nobody has to know that I have done it. There are so many people who give dhanam, dharmam. They don't want to reveal their names. They just want to do it. That's all. Don't tell my name. Who has done it? Let me do it, because dharmam is not meant for somebody else to enjoy it and then do publicity towards that. Today it is totally different. Everything what you do needs an advertisement. When most illiterate, uneducated or avidya, ajnanis of the public, when they appreciate and give a clap to that, you are promoted towards today's material promotion is there, isn't it? The people who are appreciating you, who are clapping them, don't understand it. They enjoyed it, of course. Somewhere or other, they enjoyed it. They have an idea. Have they really involved in the talk of that person or the act of that person has been done? No. How distracting it is. That is why there is opposition and then suppositions. There is supposition and opposition. The one who supposes, another is opposes. From where the oppositions have come? Opposition have come only because of the attraction and attachment towards different objectives. Is why the opposition has come. Charvakas, we said. Even Charvakas, of course, we cannot demean Charvakas to this extent. Charvakas are criticizing in the right way in order to understand the problem and spirituality. They criticize. No, it is not like that. Atman is there, Brahman is there. Where is the Brahman? How is the Brahman? How the Brahman looks like? No, this kind of discussion. You see, so that establishing the Brahman is there. Is Charvakas. This is the difference. But opposition is not there. That's not what I am talking about. So the people who are appreciating, Charvakas appreciate. Then they discuss on that. They analyze it on that. They create a field for analysis. Then the explanations comes. Then analysis comes. Then proof comes. Yes, it is established. That is why the Charvakas could not supersede Vedas and the Shastras, and according to the Maharshis and Tapasvis, who are the great inventors, they have superseded them. And Charvakas are remained there as well as discussion field is concerned. This is called Tarka Shastra also, just for the sake of Tarka. But that is not. It's only a waste of time. One should be tuned to the Dharma, one should be tuned to the Brahma, so that we will not be in a position to misguide it, because it's a waste of time. Not only that, we get agitation of the mind, plus we have enough habitual agitations we create. In each and everything that we have got created disbelief. It's kind of disbelief, We should not create that. So, you understand the immense purity? That's why the purity of the mind I delayed for so long, although it has come in the beginning. But what is purity, we should understand. Just saying purity, everybody understand the meaning of purity. Pavitrata, or what do you call it? Pavitra, pure is not Shuddha. Shuddha or Pavitra or both are purity. Shuddhata is that Shuddhata of the mind, that innocence of the mind, because senses are not influencing the mind, is called Shuddhata of the mind, not the child's mind again. Shuddhata of the mind. His mind is Shuddha, his act is he with a good intention. We call it Shuddha Mana. Means what? A good intention we call it. The intention has to be good. The intention should be good. And that Shuddhata can be achieved only when he has got Jnanam. If he doesn't have Jnanam, he can do a mistake by doing that. He can do a wrong thing by his Shuddha Mana. Shuddhata is not only that doing what is with a wrong intention, maligned intention, or for a good intention, it is also, it should be done according to the Jnanam. It should be witnessed, Shuddhata, purity. Purity is also Pavitrata. Pavitrata is that. Pavitra is that. What is Pavitra? Apavitra, Pavitra. Apavitrataha. Apavitra means that which has been associated with many things. It's a mixture of many things and cannot be cleaned. No? Apavitra. So one is involved in so many unwanted things. Activities of apavitrata, that means that which cannot be, which is not decent, which is not good, which is not right, and which cannot be cleaned immediately. I mean, just like that. Pavitrata is that pavitram. That's why it's pavitra, sanctity we call it. Pavitra is that. What is pavitra? It's again a paryaya of Shuddhata only. But pavitrata is a superlative of Shuddhata. We say temple, Pavitra Sthal. Any pilgrimage, Pavitra Sthan, we call it. Pavitra Sthan. Pavitra Sthal, Pavitra Sthan. Pavitra Karma, so same thing. Pavitra Karmam, Pavitra Mana. That Pavitra, what is Pavitra? Sanctity has to be there. That means this is a place where only the higher consciousness is prevalent. Like a temple or a, what is it, a Tirthasthal, Tirtham, like Ganga, Ganges, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Kaveri, they are all Tirtham, Tirthasthal, Tirtha Jalam, they are all what? Pavitra, they are all Pavitra. So if you do your snanam in that Tirtha Jal, you get pavitrata, they call it. Not Shuddha. I mean, they did not say you clean your body there. Why you are bathing in Ganga? Not for cleaning the body, but to gain the pavitrata. All your sins will be washed off. It's amazing. When your sins are washed off, that's called pavitrata. Simple. Pavitra. No, that means sanctity is there. Sanctity of what? Sanctity of the Brahman. Sanctity of the higher consciousness, sanctity of the Chaitanyam of the Brahman is why Pavitra. Pavitra means that which has to be highly respected. It is always there, whether you respect or not, immaterial. But it is highly respectable, it is there. You may argue not respectable, not. The respectable is always there. Ganga is always there. Now whether you call it by bathing that you will get Pavitrata or not, Ganges is always there. Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, everything is there. Pavitra Sthan is always there. Pavitra Sthala is, everything is there. Pavitrata is always there. Now, whether you accept it or not, that is most respectable, most regardable, most the reverence has to be there. The dedication and devotion to the Pavitrata should be there. Why you are going to the temple and doing puja is because that there is Pavitrata there. The sanctum sanctorum is considered to be Pavitra. So you want to achieve that Pavitrata is why you are going. In sanctum sanctorum, the Ishvara, he has no activities being doing. It all witnesses. He witnesses everything. Your kashta, dukkha, sukha, your prayers, your jealousy, your demands, everything is being witnessed. Nothing is happening. Pavitra. No, that means nothing is affected to him. No involvement, not affected. That means akarshana, vikarshana is not there. Attachment is not there, detachment is not there. So he is not affected by that. Neither gunas nor agunas are affected by that. quality of the Brahman. So this is why it is known as the Pavitra Sthan, Pavitra Sthan. Our mind should be the Pavitra Sthan, Pavitra Sthan is why the great people have told, you don't have to go to places to look for God, it is inside you, they said. What is that inside you? If you have got purity of the mind, the God is there, because in purity only the higher consciousness is there. In purity only the Brahman is there. That is why that God is inside you. Not that is like that. So somebody will say, no, God is inside you. Oh, show me. Let me cut. Like Hiranyakashipu, cut the one. Let me see whether the God is there. That's not the meaning of it, you see. That means when the pavitrata of the mana, shuddhata of the mana, that means constantly. So there are many ways have been described. So bhakti marga, jnana marga, sannyasa yoga, vairagya marga, everything has been created. Through bhakti marga, they said constantly giving bhakti to, doing bhakti to Bhagavan, dedication to Bhagavan. Constantly glorifying His names by chanting His names in the mind, so that no other thoughts. What is the purpose? As I told you, it's the same principle that keep on pouring the liquid what you want in the glass, or at a point of time it will be full of that. Same way, glorifying of the God, ultimately the God will be there. That's it. After that, glorifying is not required. So you have to reach that stage. That's why it takes a lot of time through Bhakti Marga. Bhakti Marga is tough again. He has to have complete devotion and dedication towards that. That means the purity has to be there. Impurities are those which will create, demeaning you, or that means remaining you or attaching you towards the Bhautika Jivan, Bhautika Loka, not to the Brahma Loka, Brahman, where we belong to and where we are supposed to go to. This is designed and dedicated and has been established that you are supposed to be attaining that. That is why you are born. Now there is no question of whether I should do it or not. There is no option. I always say that. There is no option. Should I do it or not? You don't have an option. The meaning of living itself is meant for liberation. Meant for layam with the Parabrahman. So for that you should prepare yourself. Is what is necessary. Is for that what is necessary is what we are discussing. How we can attain that is what we had been discussing on that. So in order to execute that, when we have explained about dharma, karma, kartavya, everything has been explained. In order to do that, how to do that was our question, my mind. You have explained so many things, but how to do it? Like this. That is called, when I do it dharmically, my purity will be there. I have to have the purity. You have to do everything dharmically so that I can attain the purity. For the purpose of attaining the purity, or for the purpose of attaining that Parabrahman inside me, I have to have the purity of mind. For the purpose of purity of my mind, my vichara, my vikara, my kartavya, my karma, my indriyas, my mana, everything should be absolutely pure. So is why the immense purity of the mind, that word has been mentioned. So what I have written, let us read. Immense purity of the mind by keeping one's likes and dislikes, ishta and ishtam, keeping away his ahankara and keeping away his ahankara. That means when I remove my ishta and ishta, and anyway, by being purified, to have the purity of the mind, first is that I have to remove the ishta and ishtam. That means non-involvement. This is ishtam and anishta, both are involvement. In anishtam also I am involved very much in that. In ishtam also I am involved very much in that, because my involvement is very high. Probably in anishtam our involvement is too much, more than the ishtam. Is it not? In the Anishtam only, more involvement than the Ishtam. Anishtam is the one which we remember. What you don't like, you remember. What you like, let me think. We'll see, no? What do you like? What all do you like? You know. What you don't like, tak. Anishtam. So Ishta, Anishta, likes and dislikes. Keeping away one's likes and dislikes will keep away his ahankara. That means that achievement. Once you gain the achievement, what ahankara? It's not the ahankara of the Maya, it's not ahankara of the Prakriti, what we are talking. Ahankara of the Jivatma we are talking. There are two ahankaras. When we are born, we have an ahankara. That ahankara is necessary. That means I am the Jivatma, I have come here to execute my karmas. This has to be there, then only my sincerity in executing karmas will be there. If I am not there, then sincerity will not be there. This is called the ahankara from the Prakriti. For each Jivatma, he has got an I, he represents as an I. That is a Prakriti's ahankara, whereas an ahankara of the Jivatma is different. Ahankara of the Mana is totally different. That means here his involvement makes it ahankara more and more. Here ahankara comes here in the mind. What happens? When ahankara comes, we are only led towards destruction and attachment and attractions and desires. More kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. We are getting attracted to that by this ahankara. Prakriti's ahankara is that which I would like to try to evolve myself towards merging with the Brahman, is that ahankara. What the activities? One taking you towards the inferior quality, another is taking you to the evolvement to the Brahma Sakshatkara, Brahma Jnana. So these are the two ahankara. So we should not mistake. Ahankara is there, ahokara, ahamkara is there. That each Jivatma is mango tree is mango tree. Jackfruit tree is jackfruit tree. No, it cannot be common. It cannot be. It has to be identified. That's an ahankara. You got it? But now, the pravritti of that particular unit should not be with ahankara. Ahankara, but here ahankara is that both are same word. That's why we get it confused. So the execution of karmas should not be with the selfish motive and involvement. Then what happens? The Ishta Anishta will be there. In our activities, Ishta Anishta will be there. The Ishta Anishta is because of the ahankara. Ego is the problem of the Ishtam and Anishtam. So egolessness is said that. This is how the word ego has come. Ego is that one which is called the ahankara. Here in this material life, in the human being's material life, the ego, what we call ego, is that ahankara where it creates all sorts of emotions in us. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, ishta, anishta, everything. Samvara, everything happens because of the ego, ishta, anishtam. So that ishta, anishtam has to be kept aside. Then ahankara can be kept aside, is what we say. This is to be done by knowledge, by jnanam. Only it can happen by jnana. So that we should have jnanam in that. Or one should have immense bhakti that I am nothing. There is no classification of ishta, anishta, ahankara, nirahankara, sahankara, nothing. I am just dedicating myself to the God. Yes. All these things will be vanished. This can be vanished. Either it has to be done like that, or it has to be known and then done like that. So this is what I said, purity of the mind. I know what is ishta, what is anishta, but I am not involved. See, never I will make a mistake. When I don't know what is ishta and ishta, no, I don't want to look at it and go back, you see. I can get attracted to that. There was a Swamiji, Chidanand Swami. He used to talk about it. Said once Swamiji, another Swamini lady is there, and another disciple. One Swamini and lady, the disciple and Swamiji. All the three are crossing the river. When they crossing the river, at a point of time, the lady found it difficult to cross. Swami took her and kept her on the shoulder. Walked through all of them. Then the disciple was thinking, okay, this Swami can do it. He was a disciple only. Swamiji doing this, carrying that lady. He has classification of lady and Swami different. So he took different meanings to that. Why is that? That means he is attracted, he is attached and things like that. Crossed it and came off, and then just after reaching the area, she brought her down and then all walked to the ashram. And then forgot. Then everything is over, evening bathed, and then puja was, chanting was done, mantras were chanted and all that. After having the food, the disciple was still thinking, what is this Swami is right or good, right Swami or wrong Swami? He was keeping on thinking. Then Swamiji knew it. Guru knew about it. So he came and asked the disciple, are you still carrying the lady on your shoulder? This is the question he asked. He did not ask, what are you thinking about it at all. Are you still carrying the lady? I have kept her there near the bank. I have offloaded her near the bank itself. But are you still carrying her? Forget about it. This is what he has asked. You got it? You remember? You see, this is how the ishta, that doing in karma without an attachment. And these are examples told by Swamiji. Used to tell many things. There were so many stories I used to tell during the class. That rat being taken to one Swami to the other Swami in a cage. Things like that. So a lot of things are there. They are all examples for us to understand how, offload it at the right time. Don't carry that. Disciple was carrying that. He said, you are still carrying it. Same thing this is called agitation of the mind. So impurity of the mind will cause that. When there is purity of the mind, this doesn't cause. Ishta anishtam and the ahankara. So from when I don't have ishta anishta, my ego is not there. It's the ego who enjoys, who hates, who does kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Everything is done excessively by ego only. All these things are necessary. Emotions are necessary for our survival, for our execution of karmas in our life. It is necessary. It has been given for utilizing for a purpose. As we always tell a story that the Swamiji crossing I think a number of times I have told, crossing a village, there was a poisonous snake and he advises the snake not to bite people. It's only to hiss, not to bite, things like that. Then that they were beaten up and all that. So all those stories are meant for making you understand that how execute a karma without enjoying the results of it or keeping the purity. So the purity of the mind should be there. Swamiji had the purity of the mind. He is pure. He is not involved in it. He did it sincerely and honestly. But he did not involve himself in that. He did not involve it. Yes? Okay. Now, I think, rest will talk about it now. So keeping away the ahankara, then we will say, then comes the guru and disciple, then comes the then comes the guru and disciple, how it should be listened, that's eligibility to listen, how it should be listened. Then comes the 8 tattvas, how we have to listen to it, how to listen with that. Shravana, Shushrusha, Shravana, Manana, Grana, Dharma, Dharana, Puva, Apuva, Puva, Apuvam, Tattvajnana. These are the 8 qualities one should be developing. This will be the next class. Oh, Shanti.